let us deal with the first problem. In a photoelectric experiment setup, photons of energy 5 electron volt falls on the cathode having work function 3 electron volt. So over here I can write that the incident energy is equal to 5 electron volt and the work function phi is equal to 3 electron volt. So if we calculate the value of the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons, so I can say that maximum kinetic energy is equal to incident energy minus work function phi. So if we do this, so we can obtain that the maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons emitted is equal to 5 minus 3, that is equal to 2 electron volt. So from here we can also calculate the value of stopping potential. So the value of stopping potential is going to be 2 volt. So from here the question, if we read the first one, so if the saturation current is 4 microampere for intensity 10 to the power minus 5 watt per meter square, then plot a graph between anode potential and current. And B part is asking, also draw a graph for the intensity of incident radiation 2 into 10 to the power minus 5 watt per meter square. So now if we look for this particular graph, so we can draw the graph like this. So on the y-axis we are measuring the value of current, and along x-axis is the value of potential V. So over here the stopping potential is marked as 2 volt. Now if we look at the graphical approach, so if we draw the graph for the first one, that is 10 to the power minus 5 watt per meter square, so the graph is going to be something like this, and the value of saturation current is obtained at 4 microampere and the intensity is 10 to the power minus 5 watt per meter square. Now in the second one the radiation is 2 into 10 to the power minus 5. So as the radiation or the incident radiation is doubled, the value of saturation current will also get doubled. So this time the value of saturation current will be obtained at 8 microampere. Care must be taken that the stopping potential is going to remain the same. On increasing the intensity of the incident light, the number of photoelectrons emitted increases in case of photoelectric effect setup, but the value of the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons remains the same, and hence we say that the stopping potential remains unaffected, but the saturation current will rise, or I can say it will get doubled by doubling the value of incident radiation, which is equal to 2 into 10 to the power minus 5 watt per meter square. So this is the graphical variation of I versus V for the question which is it is asking for. Let us move to the next problem. Photoelectrons are emitted when 400 nanometer radiation is incident on a surface of work function 1.9 electron volt. These photoelectrons pass through a region containing alpha particles. The maximum energy electron combines with an alpha particle to form a He plus ion, emitting a single photon in this process. He plus ions thus formed are in their fourth excited state. Find the energies in electron volt of the photons lying in the 2 to 4 electron volt range that are likely to be emitted during and after the combination. So for this question, we begin by calculating the value of the incident energy, which is equal to Hc by lambda, or we can put over here as 1240 by lambda in nanometer. So the value will be in electron volt. So if we do the necessary calculation, we get 1240 by lambda in nanometer, that is 400. So the value which we obtain is 3.1 electron volt. So this is the value of incident energy on the surface, which is having a work function of 1.9 electron volt. So if this is the value of work function, so I can calculate the kinetic energy maximum of the emitted photoelectron, which is going to be equal to incident energy minus work function, that is 3.1 electron volt minus 1.9 electron volt, and the value we obtain is equal to 1.2 electron volt. So this is the maximum energy of the emitted photoelectrons. Now the question is saying that these photoelectrons pass through a region containing alpha particles. A maximum energy electron combines with an alpha particle to form a He plus ion. So over here I can say that the maximum energy photoelectron combined together with a He2 plus ion and convert it into He plus ion. Now this one is in the fourth excited state, which the question is saying. A photon is emitted. So this is the required reaction which is exactly taking place by the photoelectrons emitted. So over here I am saying the fourth excited state over here is implying that the electron enters n equal to 5. So the electron enters n equal to 5. This is what the meaning of fourth excited state is, and the energy corresponding to the fourth excited state can be calculated as minus 13.6 z square by n square. Now since it is a helium nucleus, so over here I can write it as minus 13.6 into 2 squared by 5 square. So this is the value of the energy of the fourth excited state, which we calculate equivalent to minus 2.18 electron volt. So this is the value of the energy corresponding to the fourth excited state. Now the energy of the emitted photon in the above combination reaction, which the question is asking us. So I can say therefore the energy of emitted photon, so this will become equivalent to 1.2 plus 2.18. So it will acquire both these energies and the value will become equal to 3.4 electron volt. So the energy of the emitted photon in the above combination can attain a value of 3.4 electron volt. Now we are looking after the possibilities that can take place after the recombination reaction. Now after the recombination reaction, electron may undergo transition from a higher level to a lower level, thereby emitting photons. So we are calculating energy corresponding to n equal to 4, n equal to 3 and n equal to 2. So if we do so, we can calculate that E4 is equal to minus 13.6 into 2 square by 4 square, and we obtain this is equal to minus 3.4 electron volt. Energy corresponding to n equal to 3 can be calculated as minus 13.6 2 squared by 3 square, and the value is equal to minus 6.04 electron volt. And then we are calculating energy equivalent to E2, which is equal to minus 13.6 into z square by n square, and the value is equivalent to minus 13.6 electron volt. So now there are possible transitions which can take place. So now we are calculating the energy corresponding to the possible transitions. We are asked to calculate the energy transition that is taking place or lying between 2 to 4 electron volt range. So 2 to 4 electron volt range is asked. That is the reason why we are not calculating energy corresponding to ground state or E equal to 1. So the first possible transition which we discuss over here is the transition between n equal to 5 to n equal to 4. N equals 5 to n equal to 4. So the value corresponding to this transition can be calculated as delta E is equal to minus 2.18 minus of minus 3.4, and on subtracting we obtain it is equal to 1.28 electron volt. So the value corresponding to n equal to 5, that is this value, and corresponding to n equal to 4, which is this value. So if we subtract these two's magnitude, we will obtain 1.28 electron volt. Now the next one which we are finding is the transition that is taking place from n equal to 5 to n equal to 3. So now the energy corresponding to n equal to 5 to n equal to 3 So n equal to 5 is having a value of 2.18 electron volt and n equal to 3 is 6.04 electron volt. So if I subtract these two quantities, we obtain a value of 3.84 electron volt. So the energy corresponding to transition from n equal to 5 to n equal to 3 is 3.84 electron volt. Next, we are looking for transition from n equal to 5 to n equal to 2. So n equal to 5 and n equal to 2 will give us a value equivalent to that is 13.6 minus 2.18, that is 11.4 electron volt. And the next one which we are discussing is the transition from n equal to 4 to n equal to 3. So n equal to 4 to n equal to 3, the value of energy difference is coming out to be 2.64 electron volt. Now since the photons that are likely to be in the range of 2 electron volt to 4 electron volt, so we are identifying between 2 to 4 electron volt. The values corresponding are 2.64 electron volt, 3.84 electron volt, and the value which we initially calculated, that is 3.4 electron volt. So these are the possible values of energy of the photon emitted. So therefore energy of photon, that is lying between 2 electron volt to 4 electron volt, can have the following values: 2.64 electron volt, 3.4 electron volt, and 3.84 electron volt. So this is going to be our answer for question number 2. Let us move to the next problem. So we are dealing with question 3 of modern physics. When a beam of 10.6 electron volt photons of intensity 2 watt per meter square falls on a platinum surface of area 1 into 10 to the power minus 4 meter square and work function 5.6 electron volt, 0.53% of the incident photons eject photoelectrons. Find the number of photoelectrons emitted per second and their minimum and maximum energies in electron volt. So the first thing that we will be calculating over here is the energy incident on platinum surface. So energy incident on platinum surface. So this can be calculated as the intensity, that is 2 watt per meter square, into area, which is equal to 2 into 10 to the power minus 4 meter square. So this is the area which we are using and this is the value of intensity. So we get 2 into 10 to the power minus 4 watt. So this is the value of energy incident on platinum surface per second. Now the next one is a beam of 10.6 electron volt is used. So I can say that the number of photons is striking per second. So number of photons is striking per second can be calculated as the incident energy divided by the energy of one photon. The energy of one photon. So if we do this calculation, we obtain 2 into 10 to the power minus 4 upon the energy of one beam, that is 10.6 electron volt into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So from here we obtain it as equal to 1.179, which we are writing it as 1.18 into 10 to the power 14 photons per second. So this is the value of the incident photons per second. Now the next part which we are dealing with is saying 0.53% of the incident photons eject photoelectrons. So the next thing which I am calculating is number of photoelectrons emitted. Number of photoelectrons emitted per second. So now the number of photoelectrons emitted per second will become equal to 0.53%, that is 0.53 by 100 into 1.18 into 10 to the power 14. So we get a value equal to 6.25 into 10 to the power 11 photoelectrons per second. So the question that is asked over here is find the number of photoelectrons emitted per second, which we have obtained the minimum and maximum energy is possible. So the minimum amount of energy which is possible in this case is going to be 0. So whenever the question is asking the minimum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron, then it is 0, and the maximum kinetic energy can be calculated as incident energy minus the work function. So incident energy minus work function can be written as 10.6 minus 5.6. So we obtain a value equal to 5 electron volt. So all the value of emitted photoelectrons can have the value ranging from 5 electron volt to 0 electron volt. So this is the maximum possible kinetic energy, and the minimum possible kinetic energy is 0. It is because that during the course of the time when the photoelectrons are emitted from a metal surface and trying to come out from the metal surface, it can undergo collision with the so many things are there inside the metal plate, as a result of which it can lose all its kinetic energy and just manage to come out from the metal plate. So we say that the minimum amount of kinetic energy is 0, and the maximum energy is corresponding to the incident energy minus work function. So all the values of the kinetic energy between the maximum and the value 0 is possible for the emitted photoelectrons. Let us deal with the next problem. Question number 4. Two metallic plates A and B, each of area 5 into 10 to the power minus 4 meter square, are placed parallel to each other at a separation of 1 centimeter. Plate B carries a positive charge of 33.7 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb. A monochromatic beam of light with photons of energy 5 electron volt each starts falling on a plate A at t equal to 0, so that 10 to the power 16 photons fall on it per square meter per second. Assume that one photoelectron is emitted for every 10 to the power 6 incident photons. Also assume that all the emitted photoelectrons are collected by the plate B, and the work function of plate A remains constant at the value of 2 electron volt. So determine, the first one is the number of photoelectrons emitted up to 10 seconds. The second one, the magnitude of the electric field between the plate A and B at t equal to 10 seconds. And the third part, the kinetic energy of the most energetic photoelectron emitted at t equal to 10 seconds when it reaches plate B. Neglect the time taken by the photoelectron to reach plate B, and the value of epsilon naught is 8.85 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb square per Newton meter square. So the first thing which we are saying is that the two plates A and B are facing each other something like this. So this one is plate A and this one is plate B. So area of each plate, that is cross sectional area, is equal to 5 into 10 to the power minus 4 meter square, and they are separated by a distance of 1 centimeter. Now plate B is having positive charge distributed over it. So the value of charge on B is equal to 33.7 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb. Now a monochromatic beam of light with a photon of energy 5 electron volt each starts falling on the plate A. So the value of this incident energy on the plate A is equal to 5 electron volt. So that 10 to the power 16 photons falling on it per square meter per second. So now we are saying that the number of photons falling on plate A. So if we calculate the number of photons falling on plate A, so we can write it as 10 to the power 16 into area, that is 5 into 10 to the power minus 4. So the number of photoelectrons emitted can be calculated easily. So the number of photoelectrons emitted in the 10-second time. So in the 10-second time, the value can be calculated easily in this way, 10 to the power 16 into 10. Now for every 10 to the power 6 photon, one photoelectron is emitted. So we are dividing by 10 to the power 6. So the value we obtain for the number of photoelectrons emitted is 5 into 10 to the power 7 photoelectrons. Now these photoelectrons will result in some charge on A. So A will also become positively charged because it is emitting the photoelectrons. So charge on A will be a positive charge, and the value of one electronic charge is 1.6 10 to the power minus 19, and multiplied by the total number of photoelectrons, that is 5 into 10 to the power 7. So we get the value of the charge on A is going to be 8 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb. So A is positively charged. B was already positively charged, but these photoelectrons on striking B will reduce the charge of B. So B, which was originally 13.7 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb charge, its value will reduce by this 8 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb, because this photoelectrons will strike the positive charges and nullify them. So the value we obtain is 25.7 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb. So now we can say that the region in between over here will have a certain value of electric field, and it is because a positive charge is originating on A, and hence we can say that the value of electric field will be contributed by each surface, which is equal to sigma A by 2 epsilon naught and sigma B by 2 epsilon naught. Now since these two, both of them are positively charged and sigma B is greater in value, so we will subtract sigma A and we will add sigma B. So the value of the net electric field can be calculated as sigma B minus sigma A by 2 epsilon naught. So sigma can be written as charge upon area, and then we can write it as QB minus QA upon 2A epsilon naught. So on solving this one, we obtain it equal to 25.7 minus 8 into 10 to the power minus 12 upon 2. The area is 5 into 10 to the power minus 4, and epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. So we obtain electric field equivalent to 2000 Newton per coulomb. So this is the value of electric field that is filling the region in between the plates. Now we are coming to the third part. So the question is saying that the value of work function is 2 electron volt and the incident energy is 5 electron volt. So I can say that the kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron, the maximum value, is going to be 5 minus 2, that is 3 electron volt. So this is going to be the maximum value of the emitted photoelectron. Now these emitted photoelectrons after coming out will get accelerated due to the electric field applied. So as a result of which we can say that the maximum value or the kinetic energy of the most energetic particle so it was emitted with 3 electron volt energy and get accelerated due to 2000 Newton per coulomb. So as a result of which it will get 20 electron volt energy more. Why? Because the separation between them is 1 centimeter. So over here I can calculate that the potential with which it is accelerated is 2000 into 1 by 100. So we obtain a value of 20 electron volt, and hence the value is equal to 23 electron volt. So the kinetic energy of the most energetic particle is 23 electron volt. Let us deal with question number 5. An electron in a hydrogen-like atom is in an excited state. It has a total energy of minus 3.4 electron volt. Calculate the kinetic energy and the de Broglie wavelength of the electron. So now for this problem we are using a very interesting result, that total energy is equal to minus kinetic energy is equal to potential energy by 2. So we use this result for this particular problem, and then we can say that if total energy is equal to minus 3.4 electron volt, then the value of kinetic energy is equal to minus of total energy, that is 3.4 electron volt. So for the first part, the value is plus 3.4 electron volt. Now the question is asking us the de Broglie or de Broglie wavelength of the electron. So now for the de Broglie wavelength, we say lambda is equal to h by p, and we can write it as h upon root over 2m kinetic energy. So if we write it in terms of h upon root over 2m kinetic energy, so we can put h as 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 34 upon twice mass of electron, that is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 into kinetic energy. So the value of kinetic energy must be in joule because we have substituted all the values in SI unit. So we are writing it as 3.4 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule, and then this entire quantity is in square root. So this value will give us the value of wavelength in meter. So over here on calculation we obtain it as equal to 0.66 into 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So this is going to be the wavelength associated with the electron in a hydrogen-like atom. Let us move to the next problem. Hydrogen-like atom in its ground state is excited by means of a monochromatic radiation of wavelength 975 angstrom. How many different lines are possible in the resulting spectrum? Calculate the longest wavelength amongst them. You may assume the ionization energy for a hydrogen atom as 13.6 electron volt. So for this problem, the first thing that we are doing is we are given that monochromatic radiation of wavelength 975 angstrom is the reason behind the excitation of a hydrogen atom which was initially in its ground state. So I can calculate the energy equivalent to this wavelength, which is going to be 12400 by wavelength in angstrom. So the value will be obtained in electron volt. So if we do the calculation, we can write it as 12400 by 975. So we obtain a value equal to 12.75 electron volt. So this is the first thing that we have obtained. Now the question is asking how many different lines are possible in the resulting spectrum. So from here we can say that the value for energy, that is 13.6 into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square, this value is going to be equal to 12.75 electron volt. So from here we are saying that n1 is equal to 1 because the question is saying that it was in its ground state, that is n1 was equal to 1. So from here we are calculating for n2. So we can write this equation as 13.6 1 by 1 square minus 1 by n2 squared is equal to 12.75, and then from here we obtain n2. So we obtain n2 is equal to 4. Now from n2 equal to 4, so we can consider it in this way that for the n value equal to 4, we can draw it in this way that this is equal to n equal to 1, n equals 2, n equals 3, and this one is n corresponding to 4. So the possibilities, if we look at the different transition lines, so the different transitions lines can be like this. So one is coming from here, another one can be like this, and then from here it is like this. So it can be n from 4 to 2 and then from 2 to 1, or it can be. So we have obtained different possibilities over here. So the different possibilities which we have obtained over here is 6 in number. So we have covered all the possible transition lines from n equal to 4 to n equal to 1. So the number of possibilities is 6. So number of possibilities can also be calculated by the formulation n minus 1 by 2. So over here I can cross check it in this formulation. 4 into 4 minus 1 by 2 that is, we get something like 6 transitions. So the number of transitions can be calculated by this formula, that the number of transition is equal to n minus 1 by 2. Now for the longest wavelength, the frequency should be the smallest. So for the problem it is stating, calculate the longest wavelength amongst them. So for the calculation of longest wavelength, the frequency must be smallest, and we are saying that it corresponds to the transition from n equal to 4 to n equal to 3. So it is corresponding to the transition from n equal to 4 to n equal to 3. So over here we can calculate it in very simple terms, that the energy corresponding to the fourth one is going to be equal to minus 13.6 z square by n square. So using this formulation we can write it as minus 13.6 1 upon 4 square, and on calculation we obtain it as equal to minus 0.85 electron volt, and the energy corresponding to the n equal to 3 can be calculated as minus 13.6 1 upon 3 square, that is 9. So we will obtain the value equal to 1.51 electron volt. So minus 1.51 electron volt is the value corresponding to n equal to 3. So if we subtract the two values, we obtain delta E, which is equal to 0.66 electron volt. Now the question is asking us to calculate the wavelength corresponding to this. So we can calculate the wavelength corresponding to this using the same initial formula which we have used, 12400 by wavelength in angstrom. So from here I can calculate that the wavelength in angstrom is going to be equal to 12400 by 0.66. So if we calculate it, we obtain value equivalent to 18787 angstrom. So this is the value for the longest wavelength amongst them. So the question is completely done now. So I think you have made sure how to solve this kind of a problem. Let us move to the next problem. Question number 7. The ionization energy for a hydrogen-like Bohr atom is 4 Rydbergs. What is the wavelength of the radiation emitted when the electron jumps from the first excited state to the ground state? And in the B part it is asking what is the radius of the first orbit for this atom. So the energy of the electron in the hydrogen-like atom in the nth orbit is given by the expression En is equal to Z square RHc upon n square. And from here we can say that RHc is regarded as equal to 1 Rydberg. So we take this value is equal to 1 Rydberg. So now when the question is telling us that the ionization energy of hydrogen-like Bohr atom is 4 Rydbergs, so I can say that the value corresponding to E infinity minus E1 will become equal to Z square RHc, which is equal to 4 Rydberg. So over here I can say that this RHc is equal to 1 Rydberg, and hence we can say that Z square is equal to 4, and from here I can calculate Z is equal to 2. Now the energy required to excite from the first excited state to the ground state is asked. So I can say that the transition is taking place from E2 minus E1. The question is asking us the wavelength corresponding to this energy gap. So I can write it as equivalent to minus Z square RHc upon 2 square minus Z square RHc upon 1 square. So from here we obtain a value equivalent to Z square RHc 1 minus 1 by 4, and we end up getting 3 by 4 Z square RHc. So from here I can say that Z square RHc is equal to 4 Rydberg. So Z square RHc can be substituted to be 4 Rydberg, and we will obtain the expression in terms of that is 3 by 4 into 4 Rydberg. So we obtain it as equivalent to 3 Rydberg. So now I can say that if this is equivalent to the wavelength lambda, so I can equate this energy equal to hc by lambda, and from here we can calculate the required wavelength, which is equal to hc by 3 Rydberg. So this is the expression we are looking for. So if I calculate the value of wavelength, which is equal to hc by 3 Rydberg, so h can be written as 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 34, c as 3 into 10 to the power 8 upon 3, and Rydberg can be written as 2.2 into 10 to the power minus 18. So from here we obtain a value which is roughly equal to 300 angstrom. So the value will be roughly equal to 300 angstrom, which becomes the answer to the first part. Now in the second part, the question is asking us to calculate the radius of the nth Bohr orbit. So the radius of the nth Bohr orbit is equal to r0 by z, where we can write r0 as 5 into 10 to the power minus 11 upon z. So the value of z is previously calculated as 2. So I can put the value of 2 and obtain 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 11 meter. So this becomes the answer for the second part. So let us move to the next problem. A doubly ionized lithium atom is hydrogen-like with atomic number 3. Find the wavelength of the radiation required to excite the electron in Li++ from the first to the third Bohr orbit. Ionization energy of the hydrogen atom equals 13.6 electron volt, and the B part is how many spectral lines are observed in the emission spectrum of the above excited system. So for this problem, I am stating that if it is Li2+, so I can take that the value of Z is equal to 3. So the value of Z is equal to 3, and the value of energy in terms of electron volt can be written as minus 13.6 Z square by n square. So now the problem is telling us find the wavelength of the radiation required to excite in Li++ from the first to the third Bohr orbit. So if I calculate energy equivalent to E1, so I can write this as equal to minus 13.6 Z square, that is 3 square upon 1 square. So the value comes out to be minus 122.4 electron volt. And if we calculate energy equivalent to the third shell, that is n equal to 3, so the value come out to be minus 13.6 Z square, that is 3 square by n square, again 3 square. So we obtain value equal to minus 13.6 electron volt. So if we calculate the value of the energy gap between the two shells, we can calculate it as equal to 122.4 electron volt minus 13.6 electron volt. That is the energy gap is equal to 108.8 electron volt. So from here I can calculate the wavelength of the radiation which is required. So lambda can be calculated as 1240 by lambda, that is 108.8, and the value will be obtained in nanometer, which is equal to 11.39 nanometer. Now the question is asking us how many spectral lines are observed. Previously I mentioned that the number of spectral lines can be calculated directly using this result nn minus 1 by 2. So if we use this, so I can put over here that it is in the third Bohr orbit. So 3 minus 1 by 2. So the value is equal to 3. So 3 spectral lines will be obtained in the emission spectrum for the above excited system. Let us move to the next problem. Electrons in hydrogen-like atom Z is equal to 3 make transitions from the 5th to the 4th orbit and from the 4th to the 3rd orbit. The resulting radiations are incident normally on a metal plate and eject photoelectrons. The stopping potential for the photoelectrons ejected by the shortest wavelength is 3.95 volt. Calculate the work function of the metal and the stopping potential for the photoelectrons ejected by the longer wavelength. So from here I can start like this, that the value of Z is equal to 3, and the working formula which we are using is going to be E, which is equal to minus 13.6 Z squared by n squared. So now over here we are first of all calculating the value corresponding to n equal to 5. So E5 can be written as minus 13.6 z square, that means 3 square upon 5 square, and we obtain a value equal to minus 4.896 electron volt. Next, we are calculating energy corresponding to n equal to 4, and we can put the value in the same equation, minus 13.6 z square by 4 square, and we obtain value equal to minus 7.65 electron volt. The next, we are looking for the n equal to third 3 orbit, so we can put this as minus 13.6 z square by 3 square, and the value is obtained as minus 13.6 electron volt. So now if I calculate the energy involved in transition, so I can say that the energy involved in transition, or the delta E, can be calculated by subtracting the values, that is E5 and E4, and we obtain the value equal to 2.754 electron volt, and the another transition is from E4 and E3. So this value can be calculated as 5.95 electron volt. Now considering these two values, I can say that since energy is inversely proportional to wavelength, so I can say that the larger energy is corresponding to shorter wavelength, and this smaller value is corresponding to longer wavelength. So now the question is saying that the stopping potential for the photoelectrons ejected by the shorter wavelength was 3.95 volt. So from here I can say that for the incident energy of 5.95 electron volt, the stopping potential was equal to 3.95 volt, or I can say that the kinetic energy for uh, the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron is equal to 3.95 electron volt. So from here I can calculate that stopping potential can be calculated using the expression E kinetic energy maximum is equal to incident energy minus work function, that is 3.95 is equal to 5.95 minus 5, and from here we obtain phi is equal to 2 electron volt. So the value of work function is equal to 2 electron volt. Now in the next part, the question is asking us to calculate the stopping potential for the photoelectrons ejected by the longer wavelength. So for the longer wavelength, I can calculate the value of kinetic energy as incident energy, that is 2.754 minus the value of work function, that is 2 electron volt, and we obtain the value of maximum value of kinetic energy is equal to 0.754 electron volt, and hence I can say that the stopping potential will be equal to 0.754 volt. So these two are going to be the answer for this particular problem. Let us move to the next one. Question number 10. A hydrogen-like atom of atomic number Z is an excited state of quantum number 2n. It can emit a maximum energy photon of 204 electron volt. If it makes a transition to quantum state n, a photon of energy 40.8 electron volt is emitted. Find n, z and the ground state energy for this atom. Also calculate the minimum energy that can be emitted by this atom during d excitation. The ground state for the hydrogen atom is minus 13.6 electron volt. So now for this problem, we say that energy for an orbit of a hydrogen like atom can be written as E, which is equal to minus 13.6 z square by n square. So over here the question is saying that the transition is taking from 2n orbit to 1 orbit. So the maximum energy can be written as 13.6 z square 1 by 1 square minus 1 by 2n square. So this is going to be the value of maximum energy, and which is equal to 204 electron volt. So over here I can say that the first expression is going to be like 204 electron volt is equal to 13.6 z square 1 by 1 minus 1 by 4 n square. So this becomes my first equation for this particular problem. Now if it makes a transition to quantum state n, a photon of energy 40.8 electron volt is released. So now I am writing equation for the transition from 2n to n. So if we are writing transition from 2n to n, the same expression can be written as 40.8 is equal to 13.6 z square 1 by n square minus 1 by 4n square. So this becomes my second equation for this particular problem. Now, if we solve these two expressions for z and n, first of all, we can divide the expression and then solve for n. And then after obtaining the value of n, we can put the value of n and solve for z. So we obtain the two values as the value of z is obtained as 4 by solving this equation, and the value of n is obtained as 2. So the orbit number which the question is talking about is 2n. So we write it as 4. So orbit number is equal to 4. So now the question is asking calculate the minimum energy that can be emitted by this atom during de-excitation. So for minimum energy, so I'm writing for minimum energy, the transition must be taking from 4 to 3. So n equal to 4 to n equal to 3, the transition is taking place from n equal to 4 to n equal to 3 for minimum energy, and we can write this expression as E equals 13.6 into z square, that is 4 square 1 by 3 square minus 1 by 4 square. So from here we can solve and obtain value equal to 10.5 electron volt. So this is corresponding to the minimum energy which this question is talking about. So we are dealing with question number 11. Light from a discharge tube containing hydrogen atoms falls on the surface of a piece of sodium. The kinetic energy of the fastest photoelectrons emitted from sodium is 0.73 electron volt. The work function for sodium is 1.82 electron volt. Find A part, the energy of the photons causing the photoelectric emission. B, the quantum numbers of the two levels involved in the emission of these photons. C part, the change in the angular momentum of the electron in the hydrogen atom in the above transition. And the last part, the recoil speed of the emitting atom, assuming it to be at rest before the transition. So if we begin solving this particular problem, so we are saying the energy of photon causing photoelectric emission can be written as, so the energy of photon causing photoelectric emission can be written as the sum of work function for sodium metal plus the kinetic energy of the fastest moving electron, which I am referring as kinetic energy maximum. So over here I can put these values as the kinetic energy of the fastest moving electron is 0.73 electron volt, and that of work function is 1.82 electron volt. So on adding them we get a value equivalent to 2.55 electron volt. So this is the value of the energy of photons causing the photoelectric emission. So with this we have ended up part A. So now the next one is asking the quantum numbers of the two levels involved in the emission of these photons. So we begin by writing this formulation that for the hydrogen atom we know that the value of total energy can be written as minus 13.6 z square by n square. Now since a hydrogen atom is involved, so we write it as minus 13.6 by n square. Now let the electron jump from n2 to n1. So if the electron is jumping from n2 to n1, So we can write the energy corresponding to En2 minus En1, and the value can be written as minus 13.6 by N2 square minus of minus 13.6 by N1 square. So from here we obtain the expression as the value of the energy change involved is 2.55 electron volt, which we have calculated in the first part, and this can be equated to 13.6 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square. So this is the required equation, which I am referring it as equation 2. This was equation number 1 for this problem. So now if we solve this problem, so for the value of N1 and N2, we solve using hit and trial method. That is, N1 and N2 are integral values. So if we solve by hit and trial method, the value we obtain over here is N2 is equal to 4 and N1 is equal to 2. So it is obtained by hit and trial method. Kindly keep this in mind. We will not be able to frame any other equation for this particular part. So it is obtained using hit and trial method. Kindly keep this in mind. We only know that the value of N1 and N2 are integral. So using this parameter, we solve this particular equation using hit and trial method, and we obtain this value. Now the next part, the question is asking us the change in angular momentum of the electron in the hydrogen atom in the above transition. So the value of angular momentum, so we say angular momentum mvr is equal to nh upon 2 pi. That is, we say that angular momentum is quantized. So using this working formula, I can calculate that the change in angular momentum, we are referring it as n, can be written as n1h upon 2 pi minus n2h upon 2 pi. So if we do this, we obtain from here h upon 2 pi 2 minus 4, and we write this value as minus h by pi. So if the magnitude is asked, we can say that the change in angular momentum is h by pi. The next one, the change in the angular momentum we have obtained, the recoil speed of the emitting atom, assuming it to be at rest before the transition. So we are solving the last part. So over here, the question is asking us to calculate the recoil speed of the emitting atom, assuming it to be at rest before the transition. So this time the momentum of the emitted photon will be calculated first. So let us begin by finding out the momentum of the emitted photon. So we begin by calculating lambda using the equation h by p. So from the Broglie equation, we are calculating lambda as h by p, or from here I can say that p is equal to h by lambda, and I can write it as, that is, we can multiply by speed of light on both the side. So we obtain something like this, and then we can write it as E by C. So hc by lambda can be written as energy. So we write it as P is equal to h by C. So from here we can calculate P as the energy value was 2.55 multiply by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, so that we can convert it in joule, divided by speed of light 3 into 10 to the power 8. So this is the value of the momentum of the emitted photon. Now the atom was initially at rest, so the recoil momentum of the atom will be same as the emitted photon. That is according to the conservation of momentum. So if m be the mass and v be the recoil velocity of the hydrogen atom, then we can say that by applying momentum conservation principle, that is p initial is equal to p final, I can say that the initial momentum of the system was equal to 0, and finally we have the momentum of the photon emitted. So emitted photon plus the momentum of hydrogen atom. So from here I can say that the magnitude of momentum of a hydrogen atom is equal to the momentum of emitted photon. So if I use this expression, so I can write the momentum for hydrogen atom as mass into velocity, and we can equate it with the value of momentum which we obtained, that is 2.55 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 upon 3 into 10 to the power 8. So from here we can calculate the recoil velocity as 2.55 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, and the mass we are putting it as 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 27 multiply by 3 into 10 to the power 8. So from here we obtain the value of recoil velocity as 0.814 meter per second. So I can explain you it in this way, that initially the hydrogen atom was at rest. Now post this, the hydrogen atom will start moving in this direction, and the emitted photon will be emitted in this direction, such that the momentum is conserved between the hydrogen atom and the emitted photon. Let us move to the next problem. It is proposed to use the nuclear fusion reaction where two deuterium are combined together to give a helium nucleus in a nuclear reactor of 200 megawatt rating. If the energy from the above reaction is used with a 25% efficiency in the reactor, how many grams of deuterium fuel will be needed per day? The masses of deuterium and helium are given to us. So if we begin with the energy requirement per day, so the value which we are given initially is 200 megawatt rating. So from here, if I begin my calculation, so I can begin by calculating energy requirement per day. So I am writing energy requirement per day, and this can be calculated as E, which is equal to P into T, and we can write it as 200 megawatt, that is 200 into 10 to the power 6 a watt, and for time we are multiplying it by 86400 seconds, or you can say 24 into 60 into 60. So on solving we obtain the value in joule, and the value is obtained as 1.728 into 10 to the power 13 joule. So 1.728 into 10 to the power 13 joule is the value or the energy required per day. Now the next thing which we are calculating over here is energy released per fusion reaction. So energy released per fusion reaction. So if we calculate for the energy released per fusion reaction, so we are first of all we will calculate the value of delta m c square, or I can simply say that the energy can be calculated by calculating the mass defect, and then we can multiply it by 931.5, and then the value will be obtained in mega electron volt. So in order to do this, we are calculating the value of energy by calculating the value of mass defect. So to calculate mass defect, I write twice the mass of deuterium atom, that is 2 into 0.141, and then subtract it with the value of 4.0026. So this is the value of the delta M, and we multiply it by 931.5 to obtain the value in mega electron volt. In the next step, we can convert it into joule. So over here we obtain the value as 23.85 mega electron volt. So on conversion of this into electron volt and then into joule, so we can write it in 23.85 into 10 to the power 6 multiply by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So the value will be converted in joule. So on calculation, we obtain this as equal to 38.15 into 10 to the power minus 13 joule. So now using this result, that is energy requirement per day and the energy released per fusion reaction. So now we are calculating the number of fusion reactions required. So all we need to do is we need to divide these values. So now I am calculating the number of fusion reactions required. Number of fusion reactions required can be calculated by dividing the two values, that is 1.728 into 10 to the power 13 by 38.15 into 10 to the power minus 13, and we obtain a value equal to 0.045 into 10 to the power 26. So this is the number of fusion reactions required. The next thing, if we look over here, so the question is asking how many grams of deuterium fuel will be needed per day. So in order to calculate for the number of deuterium fuel that will be needed per day, so let us calculate the number of deuterium atoms required. So now we are coming for the number of deuterium atoms required. Deuterium atoms required. So I can say that the number of deuterium atoms involved can be calculated in this way. So we obtain the value of 0.09 into 10 to the power 26 atoms. So over here we have used the number of fusion reactions. So the number of fusion is 0.045. So 0.045 into 10 to the power 26, and in each fusion reaction we are using two deuterium atoms. So we multiply the two parameter to obtain 0.09 into 10 to the power 26 number of deuterium atoms that are required. So if we calculate the number of moles of deuterium atom, so the moles of deuterium atom can be calculated by dividing it by the Avogadro number. So we obtain 0.09 into 10 to the power 26 atoms divided by the Avogadro number, that is 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. So we obtain a value equivalent to 14.95 moles of deuterium atoms. So now we can calculate the mass in gram of deuterium atoms required. So mass of deuterium atoms required, and it can be calculated as 14.95 into 2, so that is equal to 29.9 gram. So if we come to this problem one more time, so the question is giving us one more data. The question is saying if the energy released is used with a 25% efficiency. Now since the efficiency is 25%, so we need to make sure that a larger mass is provided. So we need to do last calculation. So in order to make sure that the energy from the above reaction is used only with a 25% efficiency, so therefore I say that the actual number of deuterium required required will be equal to 119.6 gram. So we obtained this value 119.6 gram. So if you just divide 119.6 with 4, you will obtain 29.4. So what we have done is we have selected a particular number, say x, and then 25% of that weight is equal to 29.9. So we have obtained 119.6 gram. So this is the final answer for this particular problem, where it is asking us for the actual number of deuterium required. Let us move to the next problem. A nucleus X initially at rest undergoes alpha decay according to this given equation. We are asked to find the value of A and Z in the above process. The next part is the alpha particle produced in the above process is found to move in a circular track of radius 0.11 meter in a uniform magnetic field of 3 Tesla. Find the energy in mega electron volt released during the process and the binding energy of the parent nucleus X. The mass of the concerned atoms are given to us. So if we begin this problem, so the first question is a very basic one where we can solve from the subscript and the superscript that is provided. So A convert into Y, that is Z 228 plus alpha particles. So we can write it as 2He4. So from here we can easily do the calculation and obtain that from the superscript we can write A is equal to 228 plus 4. So the value of A is equal to 232. And from the value of subscript we can write 92 is equal to Z plus 2. So from here we obtain that Z is equal to 90. So from here we have ended up calculating the first part. Now the question is saying that the alpha particle produced in the process is found to move in a circular track of radius 0.11 meter in a uniform magnetic field of 3 Tesla. So find the energy released during the process and the binding energy of the parent nucleus X. So now we begin by considering let V be the velocity of the alpha particle emitted, of the emitted alpha particle. So if V is the velocity of the emitted alpha particle, then from here I can write the equation that mv square by r is balanced by qv. So this is from the concept of magnetics, that is a charged particle projected in a uniform magnetic field. And from here I can calculate V as qrb by m. So if we put the value over here, so I can write it as twice of 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So it is moving in a radius of 0.11 meter and 3 Tesla is the value of magnetic field. So it is moving in a radius of 0.11 and 3 Tesla is the magnetic field, and the mass of the alpha particle is 4.003 U. So we can write over here 4.003 into 10 to the power minus 27 to convert it into kg. So from here we will obtain the value of velocity in meter per second. So the value of velocity is obtained as 1.59 into 10 to the power 7 meter per second. Now the next thing we are going to discuss over here is, so it is saying that the X was initially at rest and it undergo alpha particle emission. So over here I can say that the momentum conservation can be applied. So if I conserve the momentum, so I can say that the magnitude of momentum of y and momentum for alpha particle will be same, but they both will be moving in the opposite direction. So I can consider something like this, that initially X was at rest and then it undergo an alpha particle emission, as a result of which the alpha particle is moving with a velocity v, and the y or the daughter nucleus produced will move with a certain value of recoil velocity, which I am calling it as vy. So if we apply momentum conservation over here, so I can write from this that the initial momentum is equal to 0 and the final momentum will be equal to mass of alpha particle, velocity of alpha particle in the positive direction, minus m mass of y and velocity of y which is in the opposite direction. So if we equate the two values of momentum, so I can write mass of y into velocity of y is equal to mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle. So this becomes my first equation. The next thing which I am saying is the total kinetic energy of the alpha particle, and y can be calculated using the expression from here. So I am calculating the total kinetic energy of alpha particle and Y daughter nucleus. So if we calculate the value of total energy, then it can be written as kinetic energy of alpha particle plus kinetic energy of Y. So for this, we are writing it as half mass of alpha particle velocity of alpha particle squared plus half mass of Y velocity of Y squared. So over here, using the momentum equation, I can write the velocity of Y in terms of the velocity of alpha particle, and this expression of total kinetic energy can be written as half mass of alpha particle velocity of alpha particle squared plus half mass of Y, and velocity of Y can be written as m alpha v alpha upon mass of Y squared. So we will obtain from here an expression like this on simplifying: half mass of alpha velocity of alpha square 1 plus m alpha by my. So if we start putting the value over here, so we can calculate it as half mass of alpha particle is equal to 4.033 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 27 times velocity of alpha particle, which we have obtained as 1.59 into 10 to the power 7. So we write it as 1.59 into 10 to the power 7 square, and then over here we have 1 plus. Now since it is mass ratio, we can directly put the value without conversion. So 4.003 by 2 to 8.03, and the answer will be in joule. So from here we obtain a value equal to 8.55 into 10 to the power minus 13 joule, and this is equivalent to 5.34 mega electron volt. Now what we are doing is we will be calculating the mass equivalent to this energy. Now why are we doing this? So if we come back to this problem, so the problem is asking us find the energy released in mega electron volt during this process, and then it is asking us to calculate the binding energy of the parent nucleus X. So in order to calculate for the binding energy of the parent nucleus X, so we are finding out the mass of X. So for this we will be calculating using mass of X will be equivalent to mass of Y plus mass of alpha particle plus mass equivalent of the energy. So hence we are doing this calculation. So from the value of energy, we are trying to find out the mass equivalent of this energy. So mass equivalent of this energy can be calculated. So in order to calculate this, we are dividing it by 931.5. So if the mass would be in AMU, we would have multiplied it by 931.5 to obtain this value in mega electron volt. So we are dividing it with 931.5 to obtain the mass in AMU. So from here we obtain a mass of 0.0051 U. So now I can say from here that the mass of X can be written as mass of Y plus mass of alpha particle plus mass equivalent of energy plus mass equivalent of energy E. So this can be written as, so from the question we have the value of mass of Y, mass of alpha, and the equivalent mass is calculated. So we can write it as 228.03 plus mass of alpha, that is 4.003, plus the equivalent mass, which is equal to 0.0057, and we obtain a value equal to 232.0387 B. So this is the m of X which we have obtained. So now if we come to the total number of nucleus, so if we come to this X, So over here we have obtained X as 92 and A as 232. So from here I can say that there are 92 protons and 140 neutrons. So now this will be helpful in the calculation of binding energy of the parent nucleus X. So we have calculated that there are 92 protons and 140 neutrons. So therefore for the calculation of binding energy, we are calculating the mass defect, that is delta M associated with X. So for this we are saying that 92 times of mass of proton, that is 1.008, plus 140 times the mass of neutron, that is 1.009, minus 232.0387 U. So this will give us the value of mass defect, and if we multiply this with the value of 931.5, we will obtain the value of binding energy. So if we calculate the value of delta M, we obtain a value of 1.9571 U. So now if we calculate the binding energy for X, so binding energy for X can be calculated as 1.9571 U times of 931.5, and the value will be obtained in mega electron volt. So it is coming roughly equal to 1823 mega electron volt. So this is the final answer for this problem. The binding energy for X is calculated as 1823 mega electron volt. Let us move to the next problem. The element curium Cm 96-48 has a mean life of 10 to the power 13 seconds. Its primary decay modes are spontaneous fission and alpha decay, the former with a probability of 8% and the later with a probability of 92%. Each fission releases 200 mega electron volt of energy. The masses involved in the alpha decay are given as follows. We have to calculate the power output from a sample of 10 to the power 20 curium atoms. So we begin by writing the reaction involved in the alpha decay process. So for this problem, the first thing that we are doing is we are writing the reaction involved. So I am writing that the curium 96-248 undergo an alpha decay to convert into plutonium Pu, that is 94-244 plus 2He4. So this is going to be our the reaction that is involved in this particular question. So this is the first thing that we are going to do. The next is this, we are going to calculate the mass defect involved. So we are calculating the mass defect involved, that is delta M for this particular reaction. So this can be written as the mass of reactant minus the mass of product. So over here I am writing it as the value of the mass of reactant is equal to 248.07222 minus the mass of reactant involved, mass of product, sorry. So over here we have product as 244.06100 and minus of helium, that is 4.002603. So this will give us the value of mass defect in AMU. So on solving, we obtain this as equal to 0.00 So we obtain a value of 0.005517 U. So this is the value of the mass defect which we obtain. So if we calculate the energy released during the alpha decay, then we can calculate it as, therefore, energy released can be calculated by multiplying it with 931 mega electron volt. So in the question, the value is given to us as 931. So we will multiply this mass defect number with 931 and the value will be obtained in mega electron volt. So on calculating, we obtain this as equal to 5.136 mega electron volt. So next we are moving with the another data which is given to us. So the question is saying that each fission releases 200 mega electron volt of energy. So if each fission is giving us 200 megavolt of energy and the mean life is given to us as 10 to the power 13 second. So now we can say that from the value of mean life that is equal to 10 to the power 13 second, we will obtain the value of lambda. So disintegration constant lambda is calculated. So the value is T mean is equal to 1 by lambda. And from here we obtain lambda as 10 to the power minus 13 second to the power minus 1. So now the rate of decay at the moment when the number of nucleus is given to us as 10 to the power 20. So over here we are calculating dN by dt, or basically the activity by multiplying lambda into n. So lambda is 10 to the power minus 13 and n is 10 to the power 20. So we obtain 10 to the power 7 disintegration per second. So of these disintegrations, now the problem is saying that there is a probability of 8% and the later is with a probability of 92%. So its primary decay modes are spontaneous fission and the alpha decay that is involved. So I can say the following equation will be holding true for this one. So of these disintegrations, 8% are in the fission and 92% are in the decay. So I can say the energy released per second can be due to 8%, that is 0.08 times of 10 to the power 7 disintegration into 200 value of mega electron volt that is given, plus 92%, that is 0.92 into 10 to the power 7 of the value which we have calculated, that is 5.136. Total value will be in mega electron volt. I hope you understand the value of energy release which I have written. So the question is saying that the energy is released in the two ways, that is during the alpha decay, and then the next one is due to the each fission that is releasing 200 mega electron volt of energy. So it is saying that there is an 8% a chance of fusion reaction and 92% chance of the alpha decay. So we have added the energy in the proportion, that is 8% because of the fusion reaction and 92% because of the alpha decay that is taking place. So on adding, we obtain the value is coming out to be equal to 2.074 into 10 to the power 8 mega electron volt. So therefore we can say that the power output in watt will be, power output can be calculated in watt, and this will be equal to the energy released, that is we have calculated as this one, 2.074 into 10 to the power 8 mega electron volt. So 10 to the power 6 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So the value is in joule per second. So this time we obtain it as equal to 3.32 into 10 to the power minus 5 watt. So with this we have come to an end of this problem. So it is saying that all these things were involved. So there was a probability of 8% of the fusion reaction and the probability of 92% of the alpha decay that was involved. So using this we have obtained the power output in watt as equal to 3.32 into 10 to the power minus 5 watt. So we are dealing with question number 15 of modern physics. In a nuclear reaction, uranium-235 undergoes fission, liberating 200 megawatt of energy. The reactor has a 10% efficiency and produces 1000 megawatt power. If the reactor is to function for 10 years, find the total mass of uranium required. So over here we are going to calculate the weight of uranium required. So we begin with the formula for efficiency. So efficiency can be given as power output by power input. So efficiency can be written as power output by power input. And in here, the question is saying that the efficiency is 10%. So if the efficiency is 10%, so over here I can calculate the power input that is required, which is equal to power output by efficiency. So over here we can put the value of power output, which is equal to 1000 megawatt. So 1000 multiplied by 10 to the power 6 divided by the value of efficiency, where the value is 10%. So we can write it as 10 by 100. So from here we are calculating the value of power input, which is coming out to be 10 to the power 10 watt. Now energy required for this power can be calculated by simple calculation, that energy is equal to power into time. So if we do this calculation, I can say that power is equal to 10 to the power 10, and we have to do the calculation for 10 years. So for one day there are 86400 seconds. For 1 year there is 365 days, and we are dealing with 10 years straight. So we multiply this parameter with 10. So on calculation we end up getting a number like 3.1536 into 10 to the power 18 joule. So this is the energy requirement. Now if we come to the next part, we are saying that when a nuclear reaction of U-35 undergoes fission, it liberates 200 megawatt of energy. So over here I can say that one fission reaction is releasing 200 megawatt of energy. So from here I can do this calculation, that 200 megawatt means multiply by 10 to the power 6 multiply by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule of energy is produced by one fission reaction. So by one fission reaction we get this energy equivalent. So therefore if the energy requirement is 3.1536 into 10 to the power 18 joule, then we will require how many fusion reaction. So from here we can calculate the number of fusion reaction that is required is 3.1536 into 10 to the power 18 divided by 200 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 13. So this is the amount of fission reaction that is required, and over here we end up getting a value of 0.985 into 10 to the power 29 fission reaction. So this is the amount of fission reaction that is required, 0.985 into 10 to the power 29 fission reaction. So with this it is clear that this is the amount of uranium atom that is required. So over here I can write that the amount of uranium atom required, amount of uranium 235 required, will come out to be 0.985 into 10 to the power 29 atoms. So now the question is of simple mole concept. So we can say that 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of uranium weighs 235 gram. So from here I can say that 0.985 into 10 to the power 29 atoms is going to weigh 235 into 0.985 into 10 to the power 29 divided by 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. So this is the value which will be obtained in gram. So in order to convert it into kg, we are dividing by 1000. So the answer will be in kilogram. So on solving, we obtain a value equal to 38451 kg. So 38451 kg is the correct answer for this particular problem. 38451 kg. Let us move to the next problem. A nucleus at rest undergoes a decay emitting an alpha particle of de Broglie wavelength 5.76 into 10 to the power minus 15 meter. If the mass of the daughter nucleus is 223.610 AMU and that of the alpha particle is 4.002 AMU, determine the total kinetic energy in the final state. Hence, obtain the mass of the parent nucleus in AMU. So over here, the question is saying that a nucleus at rest is undergoing alpha decay. So I can begin the problem by writing the chemical reaction that is involved, the nuclear reaction that is involved. So I'm saying that a nucleus X with atomic number and mass number Z and A undergo alpha decay. So I can say that the Y that will be obtained will be having Z minus 2 and A minus 4 as atomic number and mass number. So over here the question is saying that mass of Y is given to us as 223.61 U and that of alpha particle is given to us as 4.002 U. Now we are dealing with the next aspect. It is saying that when it is decaying an alpha particle, a de Broglie wavelength of 5.76 into 10 to the power minus 15 meter is produced. So from the formula of Broglie wavelength, I am writing lambda is equal to h by p, where I am writing p as mv, and from here we can write it as m square v square can be written as h square by lambda square, which we call as p square. So the value of kinetic energy which we are looking for is equal to p square by 2n, and hence if we put the value of p square as h square by lambda square, we get kinetic energy as h square upon 2m lambda square. So now we are applying the equation. This is going to be our working formulation for obtaining the value of kinetic energy for alpha particle and the nucleus Y. So over here we can say that the kinetic energy for alpha particle can be calculated as h square, that is 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 34 square upon twice mass of alpha particle, that is 4.002 AMU. So convert it into kg. So 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. And then there is lambda square. So for lambda square, we are putting it over here as 5.76 into 10 to the power minus 15 whole square. So this is the number we divide with to obtain the value of kinetic energy for alpha particle. On solving, we obtain this value equal to 0.982 into 10 to the power minus 12. Now we will do the similar set of calculation and obtain the value for kinetic energy for Y. So I am not showing you that long calculation. So you can do the calculation and obtain the kinetic energy for Y is 0.0178 into 10 to the power minus 12. So from here I can say that the total energy, the value of total energy can be written as kinetic energy of alpha particle plus kinetic energy for Y. So if I add them, we will obtain a value equal to 10 to the power minus 12. So now we are calculating the equivalent mass. So we are calculating the equivalent mass. So if we go for the calculation of equivalent mass, I can write that delta M is equal to E by C square. So equivalent mass can be calculated as 10 to the power minus 12 upon 3 into 10 to the power 8 whole square, and the value will be obtained in kg. And we can convert this kg in AMU by using this simple expression that 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg is equal to 1 AMU. So we can do the necessary conversion and convert the kg into AMU. So over here we obtain the value equal to 0.00665 U. So this is the value in AMU that we obtain. Now we can say that the mass of the parent nucleus X can be obtained as, so the mass of parent nucleus X will be mass of Y plus mass of alpha particle plus the mass defect or the mass that is lost or liberated in the form of energy. So that was the idea why we calculated the value of energy and then we calculated mass equivalent so that we can calculate the value of mass of X. So over here if we put the values, we can write it as 223.61 plus 4.002 plus 0.00665 and the value will be obtained in AMU. So we get a value of 227.62 U. So this is going to be the answer for this particular problem. Let us move to the next problem. Question number 17. At a given instant, there are 25% undecayed radioactive nucleus in a sample. After 10 seconds, the number of the undecayed nucleus reduces to 12.5%. Then calculate the mean life of the nucleus, and B part, the time in which the number of undecayed nucleus will further be reduced to 6.25% of the reduced number. So now this one is a very simple problem if you look from the perspective of radioactivity. So radioactivity follows first order chemical kinetics. So from the given information, it is clear that the half-life of the radioactive nucleus is 10 seconds. Since half the amount is consumed in 10 seconds, that is 12.5% is half of 25%. So over here I can say that the half-life or T half can be written as 10 seconds. Now from here we can calculate mean life. So the problem is asking us to calculate mean life. So the value of mean life tau can be calculated as 1 by lambda. Now the value of lambda can be written as 0.693 upon T half. So if we do the calculation, we obtain it as T half upon 0.693, which is equal to 10 upon 0.693, that is equal to 14.43 seconds. So this is the value of a mean life of the nucleus. Now the question is asking the time in which the number of the undecayed nuclei will further be reduced to 6.25% of the reduced number. So of this reduced number, we want the 6.25% of the reduced number. So if you just look at the problem, you can clearly say that over here the decay is taking place from 25% to 12.5% in 10 seconds. So of this reduced number, it is to decay to 6.25%. So I can say that it will take 3 more half-life. So the answer must be 40 seconds. But for the sake of calculation, I am showing by the formulation of radioactivity. So we can begin it in this way as well. So we begin by writing the working formula. Nt is equal to N0 e to the power minus lambda t. From here I can write that N by N0 equals. So now the question is saying of the reduced to 6.25% of the reduced number. So if I consider the reduced number to be 100, so the question is saying that it is reduced to 6.25 of the reduced number. So this is going to be 6.25% of the reduced number, and we are using the value of lambda as 0.00693 second to the power minus 1. So this is the value of lambda we are using. So if we put this value in this equation, we obtain it as 6.25 by 100 is equal to e to the power minus 0.0693 into t. So from here I can calculate e to the power plus 0.0693 into t is equal to 100 by 6.25, that is equal to 16. From here I can calculate the value of t. So we can write it as 0.0693 t is equal to ln 16. So we are taking log on both sides, and from here I can calculate the value of t as 40 seconds. So the value of t will come out to be 40 seconds. Let us move to the next problem. Problem number 18. Nucleus of a radioactive element A are being produced at a constant rate alpha. The element has a decay constant lambda. At a time t equals 0, there are n naught nucleus of this element. The question is asking calculate the number n of the nucleus of A at time t. If alpha is equal to 2 n naught lambda, then calculate the number of nucleus of A after one half life of A, and also the limiting value of n as t approaches infinity. So for this one, I am saying the question is stating that a radioactive nucleus of A is being produced at a constant rate alpha, and then the rate of decay is equal to lambda times n. So over here we are talking about the production of this radioactive nucleus, and over here we are talking about the rate of decay. So rate of production and rate of decay are discussed. Now at a time t, n is the number of the radioactive material. So if n is the number of the radioactive material, so at a time t we can say that the rate of formation of the nucleus A, that is dn by dt. So over here I am writing the rate of formation of nuclei A can be written as dn by dt, and this dn by dt can be written as alpha minus lambda n, that is rate of production minus rate of decay. So from here we can solve this equation. So I can write it as dn upon alpha minus lambda n is equal to dt. So now we are integrating both sides. Suppose at t equal to 0, the number of n is n naught, and at a time t the value is n. So on solving we obtain the value of n as 1 by lambda alpha minus lambda n naught e to the power minus lambda t. So this is the value of n that we obtain on solving this problem. Now in B part the question is saying if alpha is equal to 2 n naught lambda, then calculate the number of nucleus of A after one half life of A, and we also have to limit the value of n as t approaches infinity. So over here I can say that we just need to substitute alpha is equal to 2 lambda n naught and t approaches infinity. So if I put the value of alpha as 2 lambda n naught, so if we put this value we can obtain it as n equals 1 by lambda. Alpha can be written as 2 lambda n naught minus, again alpha can be written as 2 lambda n naught minus lambda n naught e to the power minus lambda, and t will be approaching infinity. So if t will be approaching infinity, so I can write it as 1 by e to the power lambda t. So as t approaches infinity, this value will approach 0. So if this value will approach 0, then we will be left with n equals 2 lambda n naught by lambda, and hence the value of n will be obtained as 2n naught. So this is going to be the answer for B part. Let us move to the next problem. A small quantity of sodium containing Na24 radionuclide, half-life 15 hour, of activity 1 microcurie is injected into the blood of a person. A sample of the blood of volume 1 centimeter cube taken after 5 hours shows an activity of 296 disintegrations per minute. Determine the total volume of the blood in the body of the person assume that radioactive solution mixes uniformly in the blood of the person. So for this problem, we begin with the information that is given in the first part. So the half-life is given to us as 15 hours. So from here we can calculate the value of lambda, which is equal to 0.693 by t half. So we can write it as 0.693 by 15. So we are putting the time in hours, so kindly keep it in mind. Now initially it is saying that the initial activity of the injected sample, initial activity A0 of the whole sample is equal to 1 microcurie. So we can write it as 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 curie, and we can convert using this formulation to get the value equal to 3.7 into 10 to the power 4 disintegrations per second. Now the question is saying a sample of the blood of volume 1 centimeter cube is taken after 5 hours. So now we are saying on the observation sample. Now the sample is of volume 1 centimeter cube. This must be kept in mind. So the question is saying after 5 hours, so t equal to 5 hours, it is showing an activity of 296 disintegrations per minute. So we can say that AT is equal to 296 disintegrations per minute. So if we use the formulation AT is equal to A0 e to the power minus lambda t, so we can calculate the initial activity of 1 centimeter cube sample. So over here we are solving for A0. So we say that AT is equal to 296, which is equal to A0 e to the power minus 0.693 by 15, and since the time is in hour, we are putting 5 also in hour. So from here we obtain the value equal to A0, which is equal to 296 divided by e to the power minus 0.231, which is equal to 372.91, or we can write it as 373 disintegrations per minute. So now we are saying that the activity A0 can be written in terms of disintegrations per second by dividing it by 60. Now since we are talking about 1 centimeter cube of the blood, so the value of initial activity is coming out to be 373 by 60 disintegrations per second. So when we talk about the entire sample, so the initial value of the activity was given to us as 3.7 into 10 to the power 4 disintegrations per second. So using this, we are saying that 373 by 60 disintegrations per second is exhibited by 1 centimeter cube of blood sample. So the activity of 3.7 into 10 to the power 4 disintegrations per second will be shown by 3.7 into 10 to the power 4 into 1 by 373 into 60 centimeter cube of blood. So we divide by 1000 to obtain the answer in liters. So on solving, we obtain a value equal to 5.95 liters, which we can approximate as 6 liters of blood in the human body. Let us move to the next problem. A radioactive sample of uranium-238 decays to lead through a process for which the half-life is 4.5 into 10 to the power 9 years. Find the ratio of the number of nucleus of lead to uranium-238 after a time of 1.5 into 10 to the power 9 years. So if we proceed with this problem, we are considering that uranium-238 is converting into lead following radioactive decay. Now we are considering that at t equals 0, the number of uranium atom is N0, and at a time t equal to t, the value will become N0 minus x. Now the number of the lead nucleus formed will be x. So over here the question is stating that the half-life for this reaction is equal to 4.5 into 10 to the power 9 years. And the question is asking us to calculate the ratio of the number of nuclei of lead to the number of uranium-238, that is N0 minus X. So the question is asking us this ratio after a time of 1.5 into 10 to the power 9 years. So over here it must be kept in mind that whenever we are writing radioactive equations, we use NT as this and N0 as this. So over here, if we proceed with this particular problem, I can say that N0 minus X is equal to N0 times of half to the power N, where N can be written as T upon T half. So using this formulation, we first of all calculate the value of N. So for this problem, we get N equals 1.5 into 10 to the power 9 upon 4.5 into 10 to the power 9. That is, we get a value of 1 by 3. So from here, I can say that N0 minus X is equal to N0 times of half to the power 1 by 3. So from this equation, I can write N0 upon N0 minus X is equal to 1 upon half to the power 1 by 3, which is equal to 2 to the power 1 by 3, and it is given to us as 1.26. But this is not the correct answer because the question is asking us X upon N0 minus X. So from this expression, we can easily calculate X upon N0 minus X, and it will be obtained as 1.26 minus 1, that is equal to 0.26. So this is going to be the answer for this particular problem. With this, we come to an end of the question solving of modern physics.